same one, EMAC. Right? So let's start it. These come from defined problems. So first, for the frameworks, we will start with finding the point that we're gonna try to improve it, or we try to find the problem. And then for M is come from measurements. So we need to measure about the current state of your process. As I mentioned that we need to know what the current state because we can compare the current state with the target or design output of the process so that we can know what the gap that we're going to improve. A is come from analyze, so we will then try to analyze to find the root cause of the problem. I is come from improve, so we're going to have the several way to improve the process, right? We're going to talk about this later. And C is come from control. So it means that after you improve the process, you would like to maintain, right, that improved process to be not going down again. So we try to keep it right on that status. So let's see about the first one is about the define. So for the define problem, so it might be understand that okay, everything is based on fact and avoid feelings. Means fact is mean that you need to have the logics and you need the data. So based on facts, not feelings, because if you still remember before we have a break, the feelings mean you think that it's gonna happen that way or this way by your things, or you think that it ought to be that happen, but you are not going to see the real one. So we need the facts. We make the decision of the problem by fact. And the fact is mean you need some logics and also the data. Data, it doesn't mean you have only the quantitative data. Also, we can collect the data using on the qualitative ways, such as interviews, talking with the employees, talking with the staff, talking with the customer, or even though you can just observe. And we try to have all the data as much as we can, right? To be the fact that we're gonna consider that okay, which one should be the problem that we're gonna improve or we're gonna solve. Another thing that we need to consider is about suppose that we have more than one problem that we're gonna solve. So which point or which problem that we need to improve first? You might choose this kind of criteria to consider as well severe of that problems, frequencies that is occurs more frequency or not, and also the possibility to improve. So this is the three things that you need to consider if you need to make the decision that okay, which point in the process is going to improve based on how severe it is and how often, and also the possibility to improve it. So you need to develop your own scale, maybe develop your own weight, right, and calculate the weight average by giving the point to all that the prospect of point that we can improve, and then you multiply the point with the weight, and then we select the point that we can improve first based on the highest score. And if you have no ideas, so what should be the problem of the process that we're gonna fix or we can improve it? Maybe you first think about the key processes. Right? Key process would be the easiest one that you might think about. The next one is that if you have no idea which one of the point in the process that you can improve, you might think about why the customer complains, what customer tell you is what the customer that dislike or unsatisfied, that point is going to be the point that you should improve for the process. And also, you might mapping the process. I show you before you have to break by drawing the process mapping, right? And the customer as well. This is show you about the customer need. You might think consider about the need and the one the customer that they even not know by themselves, but you create for them, right? So normally the customer, if we consider this graph, right, we have insufficient and sufficient as an axis. For the y-axis, going to be that the subjective of your certified or dissatisfied. We have three types of the customer need. The first one is the most attractive one. The attractive graph will be the one that we prefer. That if we don't have or if we insufficient to provide that for them, they don't know, right? They're still happy. And if we can have the sufficient to provide a subject for them, they are very, very happy. So that is an attractive graph. So the attractive graph is occur when you try to, consider the need and the one that customer are not known by their own, right? So it's like the one that we prefer. But if you are not improved by the need and the one the customer, in the future the graph going to change to one-dimensional. So it means that if you have insufficient to have that object to the customer will be unhappy. But if you have it sufficient, so customer gonna happy. So it's like getting spoiled, right? If you don't have, they are unhappy. If you have, they happy, something like that. And besides that, if you still not try to improve the customer need, the graph of one-dimensional can become the graph of must be. This is not good because graph of must be means customer thinks that all the things that you provide to them is the minimum requirement that they need to get, right? So if you have insufficient of that objective to them or object to them, they are very, very dissatisfied. But if you have it sufficient, they still think that this is the minimum requirement. They are still not feel satisfied. They still like the so that you have it. So the point of that, so you might think about the problem from the point in the process that can make the customer more happy based on the attractive graph, okay, or things about the why the customer complaint could be the useful information to find the point that we're going to improve. Besides things about the key processors, besides listen to the point of the customer, besides try to find the point that respond to the customer need, we also have another concept like such as a 3M, right? 3M is come from that Japanese word muri uda ura, right? So if you have this kind of three things, right, maybe you have the problem to improve. Muri is about the overburdens, so it means that it's overload, right? Muda is about the waste, right? So it means that you have loss, right? And formula is unevenness, so it's not stable. So these three things we call 3Ms, right? And if you have this card, one of them, so you have the problem because muri is overload. So you can think that in the process that you have, staff working hard, right? They stay late in night. They are unhappy because they didn't have too much time for rest. They need to working hard. So this quite an overload, maybe the problem in the process. Waste, that you can think that if the customer has a lot of idle time, they have their coffee break, lunch break, a lot long break. So nothing much to do. So it's going to have the problem as well. But on the opposite side, the problem is about they have too many idle time and too much idle time. And for the Mura, unevenness means it's unstable. So it's going to have the problem in the case that change from time to time, not like the standard. Right, so in the term of production, it's not good. In the term of space, it's not good as well because you don't have any standard. So in order to explain this 3M more clearly, you can see the figure below the 3Ms here. Let's say that they have the boxes 12 boxes. Each box is weight about 1 ton, right? So we have the trucks that they have the capacity 4 tons. So if you deliver two rounds and contain 6 tons for each round, you have to read because it's overload. If you carry 2 boxes, 6 rounds, this is a Buddha because you will still have the room to carry, but you don't use it, you have lost. Right? And if you carry one time is about 6 tons, another time 4 tons, and the last time is 2 tons, this is a Buddha because it's not equally for each time, so it's unstable. So the best way, if you can do, if you have to do it, like you need to do is about carry is 4 tons for 3 rounds. So it's gonna reduce Muri, Buddha, and Buddha. And another concept that we can consider to be define the problem in the process is that what we call the 7 vessels. Right? It's quite the another concept that have the information sometimes is quite the same as the Buddha. The first one is about overproduction. This means connect to the chapter of inventory management that we have finished. If you have too many productions, more than the demand a lot, so we have a lot of inventory, that will be the problem. If you have a lot of defect and reworks, you have the problems. If you have an unnecessary motion, so it means that the staff or the employees move is unnecessary and move have unnecessary move in their operation, you have the problems. Non-effective process, you can think about the problems regarding to the qualities, so you have the problems, unnecessary transportation, right? So you can think about the problem as well as about the waiting time or delay, right? So this is another concept that we consider is to be the problem or define the problem for improve the process. Another one mostly is involved much about the productions or the machine. We call 6 big losses, right? 6 big losses in regard to the problem if you have the machine or equipment often break down, that you have the problem in the process. Normally you have loss at the beginnings of the process. Let's say about the setting up or adjustment, so you might have a problem on that point. You have the minor stoppage, right? So you stop for a while, you might have the problem. You have the speed of your machines under the spec, you have the problem. Startup or use, maybe yield is not have meet the standard, you can have the problem and also defect and reworks. Or this is another one that we can consider to find the problem. So in conclusion, right, they have too many concepts, right? So you can find from for the customer, you can do 3M, you can think about 7 versus 6 losses or 8 symptoms, right? This is the one that we consider from the problem of this list. Utilization doesn't meet, efficiency is low, productivity is low, you don't have anything balanced, so you have a problem. Stabilities, you have the, if you don't have enough stabilities, also have the problems. Consistencies, right, or clarify or qualities, all this is the symptom. If you have it, if you have the problem based on all this list, so it means you have the problem, so you can define. Right? So this is like the concept that I'm sure you that we have the several concepts that we can use and apply to find the problem points. But the most effective way is that I think from the way the customer and also from the way of the internal staff also be the good one that you need to consider. And anyway, support, this is the first one of the framework B, right, define the problem. And then we come to the second one. Is about M, right? And M is being measured. Measure what? Measure about the current status or current situation. As I mentioned that we measure about the current situation of that problem point because we try to compare with the target that you want. So the the gap between the target and the current situation is going to be the one that we using as the problem that we're going to solve, right? Or let's say, for example, you might have the current situation of the service time, let's say 10 minutes for providing the service to the customer, but your target is need 5 minutes, so you have 5 minutes that you're gonna reduce as a gap. So this is the problem. So it's just like for measurement, you try to translate everything into the quantitative or the number, so that you can know that okay, what would be the thing that you're gonna reduce, right? In order to make it better. And besides measure about the current situation and compare the target, you can think about the if you have no idea, you can measure about the KPI, right? That we can use to measure about the performance, right? The KPIs and also about the activity-based costing. This is the way that you study audit, right? In the management accounting, is about the way that you measure about the indirect cost, right? Based on the activities, not based on the direct labor hours. So and also for the measurement step, of all the various charts, it should be important as well. You can apply the time series, chart, check sheet, histogram, Pareto chart as well. So it means that once you have the information from measurements, you might use the several charts to display, and then you can see more deeper or can see more clearly information about the problem that you're going to improve. The next few slides, you already see right from the quality management. In this case, if you remember that we're using check sheet, and you can see in this case the problem is come from the very important thing is about problem of the out of stock, because the frequencies of the problem is getting higher and higher when the time is moved on. And you can using like a line chart, right, to plotting and show about the trends, right, in order to see what kind of information here. So my point is that the measurement step, right, when you measure about the information, if you have only the number, maybe it's worth nothing. Sometimes you're not more clearly to understand, right? So you might need to use several or charts to display, and you can see more clearly. So our stock is getting greater. And Pareto chart, right, we know about this, right, that we try to use it to know that, okay, which problem it should be the first priority that we need to handle, right? So it's come from the concept of 80% of the problem, maybe come from 20% of cost. So we cannot, in the case of improvement, we cannot improve all the problems that you have. You need to, prioritize the first 2 or first 3 problems that you're going to handle first. So Pareto chart should be the one that's suitable. Histogram as well, so we mentioned about this before. It's used to measure about the dispersion, measure about the frequency and also dispersion of the information. So this can help us to understand more clearly, besides consider just only the average value. Because average value sometimes tell you nothing. You need to see about the dispersion or distribution of the information as well. So this means that during the step of M or measure, you measure about information and translate into the quantitative data, and also you need to using several charts to display. And don't forget that the data that you measure need to be up-to-date data, and you need to consider that what kind of available that you can get from the data, and also the accuracy of the data, and besides that, all many data have the cost that you need to pay. Right? So in order to explain you more why using chart is more important, you might refer to this information. This is the information about the demand, let's say, from 10 years ago, right? Let's say 2009, 2010, and 2011. This is for Thai. Right? And the information is show the demand for each month, right? And we have 3 years consecutive. We show about the average value from this each year as well. So you can see that based on this, right? It is just the monthly demand. So if we have like the daily demand, so you're gonna have the very, much more information than this. Right? But just consider this monthly demand, you might see something that every year they provide the same information, right? Because even though you do that the average one, you can see that it shows that they have like the uptrend and maybe have the seasonal happens, right? So if you look at this data, okay, this is still not that difficult to see because it's monthly data. But if daily, we have no idea because they have a lot of numbers, right? We cannot see about the pattern. So that's why we did the chart, right? So for the process improvement, when you measure about the data, don't forget to do this, right? So have the chart to show about the more clear information. You might see that every year have the uptrend and seasonal sale. And also, if you compare monthly sale for each year, you might see there's something change, right? Because on the last quarters, right, there's the highest sale is come from the different years, right? And also, if using the pie chart, you can see that there are multiple demands for each year. So my point is that using the several chart to express about your data is a good way to do for the measurement step. But are you okay with the knowledge about the chart? Do you know much more about the chart? So we have the detail here that you might understand that for pie chart, it's about the chart that you need to show about the proportion, right? And we used to see a lot of report or see on the board that sometimes organization provide a pie chart with several pieces as a portion and using almost color shading, right? So it's worth nothing. So actually, pie chart is more effective when you divided the area just maximum 6 area. And because we pay important and attention more on the majority area, right? The large part. But for the small part, let's say 0.01%, 0.1%, 0.02% is not the thing that we consider much. So that's why when we using the pie chart, it would be better if you try to collect all the very small pieces into one portion that we call arcs, right? But because normally you will be analyzed and pay attention more on the very large portion of the pie chart. Column chart and the bar chart, this is good for make a comparison. So if you try to compare the data from year by year or month by month or compare with your competitors as a benchmark, the column chart and bar chart is good. Dot chart is used to express the relationship between two variables. So we can see that, okay, the relationship that is going to go into the same direction or on the different direction, or maybe it's not, it doesn't have any relationship together. And the last one, the line chart. Line chart is good when you plotting against time. So it can help you to see about the patterns in time. So this is like the very basic chart that we might use along with the data that we collect from the measurement step. Okay, suppose that we define the problem, we make sure about the data. The next one is the part of analysis or A. For doing the analysis, it is nothing else that the tool that we're going to use for analysis in order to improve the process is about using the idea generation tool, such as the brainstorming. The brainstorming, you're using, or maybe you're using like a 5 whys tool. 5 whys means that you ask yourself why this happened, and then you ask why again. Until you cannot answer, that means this is the root cause of the problem. It's just named 5 whys, but sometimes you just 3 whys and you cannot go more deeper, or you can use 7 whys something else, so it depends. But The idea is that you try to ask why and why this happened, why. So if you cannot answer, the last one should be the root cause and the problem. We can also have the prefer to using the concept of brainstorming. So it means that everyone needs to generate the idea first. Don't forget that the brainstorm is means that we have the objective to getting more and more idea first. We don't care that this is a good idea or not, but we need more idea first. So the good brainstorming is mean that everyone of the team, they try to generate idea as much as you can, right? As first, right? This is called brainstorming. Using the object cause and effect diagram, also be another one that we can use for generating idea to analyze, right? Don't forget that we try to generate and brainstorm about the cause, not the solution, right? So this is like another tool that we can use, right? So analysis is just brainstorming, trying to find the root cause. Okay, now we're gonna go to the part that's important for today is about the improvements. What kind of improvement concept that we can apply, right? It's very simple, right? And it depends on the problem, right? Your friends asked me about the case study. I try to find out, but I need to read it first. I try to find the not difficult case, it's just normal case, because the process improvement is is very subjective. Sometimes you have the different ideas. So maybe tomorrow I will get the process. But anyway, for the concept of improvement tools, you can think that first think about all the duplicated activities you can eliminate. If something that duplicate each other, you can eliminate. You can use just one. Also, you can think about the combine all the related activities. For example, let's think that a very simple one when you're using when you drive your car, go to the gas station, right? You want to fill your fuels, right, at the gas station, but at the same time, you may have some staff of that gas station to cleaning your car windows, or even though checks about the pressure of your tires at the same time. So the combined related activity is a good idea. This means that if you try to using this concept for improvement, so there might be one team that operate all of the activities, right? Because they can do that. The third one is we see a lot in everyday life that if you have the multiple reviews and approval, it's good. You have a good idea that you should eliminate it. This is just the idea. Even though there's some businesses it's impossible because you're concerned about the security, but based on the concept, if you have too much multiple review, it's not good because it's slowing down your process, right? And sometimes, in fact, the review is not conform the status of the position, but sometimes it comes from your trust someone in your team. Let's say that the CEO might not care that who else that signed this form already, but they might care that the one that they trust see and approve this document already or not. So this is the right effect. So you might think eliminate the multiple reviews, right? Simplify processes, right? This is very useful that we see a lot, right? How can you simplify processes? We have the several ways, right? You can use it by the technologies, machine to help. You can using the customer involved into your process, do it yourself, something like that, or you can eliminate some activities, right? Process in parallel. So we see this already in the capacity planning chapter in the operation management. In the case that you can operate the activity, the tasks and activity in the parallels at the same time, right? They can save the time. And another way is that sometimes you cannot improve it by your own because you don't have ability to handle. So it would be a good idea that you let outsourcing party to do innovations activity for you, right? And also immediate movement of works. So let's think about the layout. Let's think about the plan of the route of the or deliver thing that might be we can eliminate some movement that is not necessary. And using the lean concept. Right? So we have the several ways to improve. Right? For example, here is my things about okay. Maybe you deliver the or taking part of your supplier, you might redesign about the route that you're gonna use to the truck to collect part or spare part from your supplier. So this just like the concept from Toyota that they use the mill run, right? That they come to stop by at the supplier and collect, and then come back to the factory again, right? So now it's like reduce more the distance, so more safe. And this one we already see is already right. We just going to show you again using the parallel workstation. If you still remember that it can help you to reduce more the bottleneck, so you can have more output, right? Because you try to increase the activity that have the problem that's gonna have the bottleneck. This one we already did it, right? This one we did it in the operation part already. But another way that we can consider is about, for example, for the service, you can think using the concept of moment of truth. This again is like the things about the pain point or at the critical point of the moment that the customer determine their satisfaction with your service. Right? So if you try to do your best on this moment of the critical moments, it might help you to achieve about the very good service. So this is another method that you can improve. So just pretend that you were the customer, and for each critical moment, how well that you're gonna improve and make that customer more happy and satisfied with your service. So you're gonna find that thing. So you can improve by using this concept. It's very simple, but it's difficult to do because normally we prefer to look into the process based on our view, not the customer view. But if you pretend to be your customer and look back and to see that okay, which of the point in each processes or the critical moment in each process that we should improve in order to make the customer feel satisfied. So this is the concept that we call moment of truth. Another way that for improvement you can apply the concept of value engineering, which means, let's say, in the design process, you might think about the way to make the production is more easier, the way to save about the cost per unit of your product and still keep the performance of your product that's not that different from the previous one. Right? In this case, if you remember that we have trees, poles here, and you can see that the third one is the most effective one because it's easiest way. This is the easiest one to make the production. There is no requirement of drilling the big hole. There is no bench both of these two parts. They just connect together on the base by using the knot. And also when you calculate the cost per unit, the third one is the lowest one, right? So in this case, it's come from things like how can you change or improve based on your design. Sometimes you are not realized, but sometimes you can realize during the production and you can change it, right? And sometimes you see that you're gonna have the problem, make it more, have the more accident for your staff when you open, so that you change or redesign to improve it, right? And the lean concept, if you remember that we talk about the lean operation and just-in-time operation, is also be the another good point that you can use it for improve the process, such as using the concept of the pull system, or you can think that using the concept of very simple is about the video, about the setting up time, right? And have the Jidoka or automation that to use at the station for mistake-proof station. If the anything have the problem, you stop and fix it. And also, Kaizen should be another Japanese word that you know, right? This is about the continuous improvement. So you do the Kaizen, so it would be the initial way to improve the process as well, because we focusing on the small and gradual improvement, right? So every week, every month, you try to find the way to improve your routine works and things that, okay, how can we do it better and better, right? So this is like the concept that change about the behavior and mindset of the employees. So it helps to have you getting better in the improvement of the work process. Flexibilities, you can think the way that we can, have like the activity that, no need to stopping when you change the activities, right? And also in the term of response to the chain of the demand, and also the chain of the production from one product to another product. If you can, rearrange or the sequence of using your machine to produce those products, you can have the more flexibility if you arrange in the good sequence, right? For example, A is very close or similar to B, and then you have C. So it would be better if you produce A and then followed by B and then C, not A and followed by C, because you're gonna change the machine back or equipment back to setting up for another product again. So we prefer to have the very close or very similar product to produce close together or in the same in the right next sequence in order to save of the setting up time. And cycle time, remember that the way that we using these are the line balancing, but also cycle time is about the maximum time that each station requires for produce 1 minute of output. So it's very important that if you try to improve the process, it means if you can, it means that you can, if possible, you can reduce the cycle time is a good thing, because if you can reduce the cycle time, it means that you reduce about the production time or service time. It makes it faster, right? And benchmarking should be another concept that you can use for improve the process. If you have no idea, right, so just find the best practice, right, the organization that doing best for that activities that you are not doing good. So then you try to study and analyze, so what did they do, and then you try to duplicate and try to doing the same way as they did, right? And don't forget that the best practice doesn't mean you need to benchmark with outside organization only, but also we can benchmark inside organization, or we call it internal benchmarking. If you have the really good enough, or if you big enough, so you can doing like the internal benchmarking. So benchmarking it should be another one that we use a lot in the term of improvement, because we try to compare with the good company or the good compare with the best practice organization and try to do it as they did, right? So benchmarking, we have like process benchmarkings, focusing on the process, or even though you might think about the strategic benchmarking, right? So try to study their strategies, right, and do competitive benchmarking. So in this case, you study from your competitors, right? In several aspects, such as the qualities, performance, or features, or the pricing things. Okay, so this is for I, right? So you can see we have a lot of concepts that we can apply. It depends on the situation and it depends on the problem. And for the last thing of the framework is called C, or control. Again, we would like to monitor the process and make sure that we can maintain the improved process to the futures, right? And in this case, the control phase also including the way that you try to make a standard of your process, or doing the SOP, standard operating procedure, right? That's used as a manual for your employee to operate in order to maintain the improved process for the future. So what kind of tool that we can use? Okay, we know that we have the SPC or control charts. We can use the concept of PDCAs. We can use in the servo chart, right? PDCA can do check act, right? For the run chart as a servo chart, this is an example that we can use. You might have the plotting and have like the target at the deadline. If it's penetrate or reach to the target that you use it at the warning level, so then you know that okay, you need to do something, right? For the control chart, okay, I will not come back to explain you again, but this is a very useful tool that you still use in again in the control process. Even though you improve, and then you can use the concept of control chart to recheck again and again to make sure that everything is in the same direction that eliminate the variation. So this is the process improvement. I would like to using the last part of today go more on process improvement to the one that you might heard about before is about the process reengineering, right? Improvement and reengineering have the different things, right? So I'm gonna have that a few slides to show you about what kind of process reengineering and what is the difference with the improvements. You can see this is the definition from Michael Hamburg and James Campbell. This is the founder of the process reengineering concept. It said that the process engineering is about the fundamental rethinking of radical redesign of the business processes to achieve dramatic improvements in critical contemporary measures of performance such as cost, quality, and speed. So there's just 4 keywords for reengineering, that including fundamental. So it means you consider fundamental of your business. The second one is about the radical. So it means you change not just little things, you just break through, you change the big one from the, so we call the radical change. And you're focusing on processes, and finally you expect the result to be dramatic result. So if you have the objective to increase just 10%, this is not the reengineering. So if you're doing the reengineering, you expect something that very dramatic result, right? So have the values improve, just like that I show you about the Thai national ID card format, and then you reduce to 10 minutes, something like that. So this is the dramatic result. And so reengineering is involved asking the basic question that why do we do, why it's done in this way, right? And you might think that reengineering is about the downsizing, because we see a lot that the business that doing the reengineering, they have the reduced about their organization side, but actually it's not downsizing, it's not just outsourcing, right? And it's not just using the automatic machine or the technologies thing to substitute innovate, right? And not the restructuring, but reengineering make the organization change the structures. And not the improvement, I will show you why. And it's not the modify of your business, it's not Kaizen, but actually for the process reengineering is about the business reinvention, so you rebuild, right? So this is the definition to show the process improvement versus the process reengineering. You can see that for improvements of Kaizen in the same way, we try to do what we already do, only to do is better. So we try to do it better from what we already do. But for reengineering, we seek the breakthrough things, right? Not by enhancing existing processes, but by discarding them and replacing them with an entirely new ones. Okay, so difference. With what improvement, you starting with the existing one, right? And you try to make it better. But for reengineering, you break through to find something that replaces them, right? And you are not enhancing the existing process, but you try to replace them with a new one. Right? And if you compare more deeper between improvement on the left hand side and re-engineering on the right hand side, you can see. For sure, right, the starting for improvement, you're starting from existing process. But for re-engineering, you're starting from clean slate. So you are not starting with the existing process. You change, radical change, but for improvement, you have the incremental change. Okay, it's about the top-down for re-engineering, it's top-down policy. But improvement is come from bottom-up. So it means if you're gonna do the re-engineering, it needs to come from your management. And it's cross-functional, and also, okay, one thing that's very interesting is about the tool. For the process improvement, you rely more on the statistical tools, but for re-engineering, you rely more on the information technologies. And for sure that since you have using the breakthroughs, replacement than the old one, so the risk is getting high for the re-engineering. And re-engineering forced to change both culture and structure, but for improvement, it doesn't change the structure, it changes just the cultures. So we are also using this concept that finding the as is to be the design, test, and then it's run just like it's the same. But anyway, it's just the philosophy that's different. For example, for the business re-engineering here, if I ask you that, okay, does the re-engineering consultancy the glass at half full or half empty? No. They might think about, is this not wine? What is the liquid in here? And maybe it's at the wrong side of the glass of wine, something like that. So not look at the same vision as usual. Or you might think about this, right? It's more clearly about the concept of philosophy of re-engineering. Let's say that you want to move from this point to this point, right? Basically, you might walking along with this street. If you're using the concept of improvement, you ride your horses, right? More faster, right? Or you drive a car, it's more faster, but you still using the same concept of the existing process. This is the improvement. But for re-engineering, why do we need to go on this street? Why not be using the plane, fly from here to here, or something like that? So re-engineering is think like out of the box a little bit. So not stuck on the existing one. So re-engineering keyword is about fundamental, radical, dramatic, and processes, as I show you. So we need to rethink, redesign, reusing the tool, and retrain. And the most important tool for re-engineering is about the information technologies. So you might think that, okay, it means we need to using the IT, yes, but the concept of re-engineering using the IT is different from the improvement, because in the improvement, you might think about that how can we use the new technology to enhance or improve what we are already doing. So this is the improvement things. But for re-engineering about the IT, why not we think that how can we use the technology to allow us to do things that are not already doing? So in different ways, right? This is the list of re-engineering possibilities that can have. Okay, for example, sometimes it's overlap with the improvements. You can have the several jobs combined into one because you're using the IT, right? Sometimes you're using just only one computers that have the system that access all the things, so you can operate from in one place. The workers might make the decision because they have all the information. The step is not as straightforward, right, from A to B and to C, but it's going to perform as a natural order as it's going to be. And you might have the multiple version. For re-engineering, you might think that, okay, this is a difficult version, this is a medium version, this is an easy version, so you can divide the version and let the team do. Right? And work is performed as well, it makes the most sense. It means who's gonna make the decision should be the one that knows on that process, right? And you reduce for the checking, reconcile, minimize. The managers provide only single point contact, right? And also we also have the hybrid centralized and decentralized operation involved. So this is just the lab information for reinsurance. One example that you can see using the concept of reinsurance is that in the past, let's say 40 years ago, when you try to make an order for the burgers, right? You might ask the customer that which burger that they prefer, and then once they orders, you might ask another question. So what you want fries? And once they answer, you might ask the third question. So what drink that you want, right? So it's just like the several process that not necessarily. So nowadays you can see that the fast food we also have on the right hand side. So you have like a combo meal. Set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let customers to pick, and that's it. Right? Minimize the step. Right? And the last one that I want to show you today is about the reinsurance practice. Normally in Thailand, you can see that K Banks right, did the reinsurance in 1996. Right? At the time before 1996, all the commercial bank in Thailand, when you want to do the transaction, when you go to in the commercial banks, they have the too many staff or too many bank tellers to operate, and each of them have their own responsibility. For example, this person doing just only the withdrawal, this person doing about the deposit, this person doing just only the open the account. There is not overlap to do other works. But after the K Bank did the reinsurance in 1996, so they reduced number of the member staff in each branch, right? And that is conformed, right? At the starting that every staff can do all the activity of transaction, right? For the counters. And the Kodak also applied the concept of concurrent reinsurance, concurrent engineering that reduced the design process of their camera, right, from almost 80 weeks to 38 weeks. And also I have the example of the Ford Motor Company in the past, that what they did about using the IT to be used like the reinsurance things. For example, in this case, we have like the purchase department, right? They launched about the PO, purchasing order to the vendors. And at the same time, they send a copy of PO to account payable department. And once vendor getting the POs, right, vendors deliver the good, right, and they send to the receive department. And at the same time, they send invoice to the account payables. And the receive department, right, once they have received the good from the vendors, they send the good receiving note to the account payable. So in this as is process, right, we call we pay when we receive invoice, because the account payable gonna reconcile 3 documents: PO, invoice, and good receiving note. That is all are matched, right? They're gonna pay the money to the vendors. So in this one, they using just headcount, funded headcount, right, and it's just not effective. So after they did the reinsurance thing for the Ford Motor Company, they're using their IT by providing the database, so it's faster and reduced for the headcount. For example, in this case, again, purchasing department, they launch a PO, purchasing order to the vendor, and then they update in the database system. The vendor send the good to the receive department. Receive department check in the database, right? And the account payable also check in the database that everything is all right, getting the good, they receive good already or not, or after if we receive good, so then we pay to the vendor. So this comes from the concept of we pay when we receive goods. So it have the 125 head count, and it's automatic matching between PO and good receiving note because it's updated in the system of the database. It's faster, it's more accurate, right? And involve less processing in this case. So anyway, finally, this one is we're going to see that the process management also be one of the part of the multiple National Quality Award, right? Because it's playing an important part of how well that you managing the process in the way that we customize and certify the customer, right? So if you're using the criteria of the National Quality Award, you can see one thing or one criteria of the National Quality Award is about process management. Okay, they would like to focus on that section. So it's all I have. So just something that I want to share with you guys. For the case study, I'm going to post around tomorrow, right? But never mind, because it's due on next Tuesday, not Monday. Okay, for this case, the last case. And for next week, we're going to have the 2 classes left. Probably about the customer management and I cannot remember the last topic, but maybe a share, I don't know, maybe a share to the extended management. So let's see. That's it. So that's all I have. See you next week. Okay, thank you.